Imagine for a second you're a British or an American aviator and you're flying a bombing mission over eastern Germany, which is now western Poland. You're flying through a flat cloud and it's your turn for your plane to get hit. Your plane gets hit, you manage to bail out, you're in the safety of your chute, you're gliding down, you hit the ground with the impact, and there's German troops waiting for you. They herd you and the other survivors from your airplane onto a waiting train. The train goes through the German countryside, stopping here and there to pick up more and more prisoners, and you question the whole time, what's going to happen to me? Where am I going to go? You've heard rumors of the concentration camps, but you've also heard rumors of the prison camps, much like where you're going today. This is Żagań, Stalag Luft III, and this is where it begins. Right here in this rail hub, Żagań's that way, the city, and then the prison camp is right here at the end of this line. You get off of this line and out into the field you go to barracks and over 10,000 men that are all held prisoner. This is Stalag Luft III. Here we are at the Stalag Luft III Museum. Off to the left is one of the buildings that represents what their living quarters were like. They had over 40,000 Allied troops housed in buildings like this over here. Not all 40,000 obviously, but they had a whole various sundry of buildings. So we'll tell you the whole story as we go. So here we are, we're at the POW Camp Museum. That's what it's called. It's not Stalag Luft III, it's the POW Camp Museum. Because the thing is this POW camp, not only is it just for Stalag Luft III, there were other stalags, which are prisoner camps around. And even during World War I, this area was used for a prison camp. You see, there were Americans, we've got Canadians up here, some Brits. This guy's a Polish guy. So this was all aviators. You see here it talks about the different aviators, various accoutrements, if you will, ranks, wings. Looks like most folks were captains or lieutenants, so a bunch of young folks, to be honest. You have, what, one lieutenant colonel there. Of course, they have an outfit of an aviator. Let's see what it says here. This guy, winter trousers, AN, T-35, and a B-3 jacket. So I didn't say what type of plane this person flew in, but yeah. Here it talks about the B-17s, which did a lot of the bombing stuff over Germany. Has a little mock-up. This talks specifically about the Stolzkolate, the Gulls of Bassingbourn. Let's pause for a moment and talk about the Ghost of Bassingbourn. Bassingbourn was an RAF airfield located in Britain, home of the famed Memphis Belle. This particular airplane, a B-17, was doing a bombing raid over Berlin in June of 1944 and was shot down by German forces. Of the 8 crew members, the tail gunner, Amos Estrada, was killed in action. Remnants of the wreckage were recovered in 1989, and the wreckage still remains at the bottom of Lake Stolsko in Poland. And then the various uniforms of the officers that were here. Canadian, this is a South African person, Royal New Zealand, and a Royal Australian, complete with boomerang. Got everyday items that they used. This is what is this?
German Luftwaffe guards specialized in escape detection. They could enter the compound at any time and search any hut without warning. So those were the guard uniforms. And somebody's cap that they used to escape. The cap was discovered buried in a Russian tin can in the former east compound of Stalag Luft III. So they had a cap that they made. If you look, you can see it's pretty much handmade. These are the different maps. And I don't know how well we can tell, but if you follow my shadow, you see it's strings. So these are silk maps. And what they would do is they would take these silk maps, put them inside the coats. And that way they would have the maps and stuff of where they were flying over. So if they had to escape, they had these maps. Here's another example of one here. And so it says here, they created various types of maps shown of the entire area. The rice paper map, which is this one, shows the entire northwest coast of occupied Europe. So that's all the way down Holland, Belgium, going into France. This area here is Croatia. And then across from Croatia, Italy. Venice is right there with my shadow. That's Venice. Venice, Italy. And this is a German uniform. Nazis. Ugh. More of their stuff. And these are the different other things that they had here. Nameplates. This was to forge their documents. So these were all their documents here. Well, not all their documents, but these are some of the documents. So, some books. Shoes. And then also, of course, we're in Poland, so it talks about the Polish uniform. That's a Polish uniform. And this is some information about the Polish here in Polish. So these are some of the things that are in the museum. Again, you see everyday items, papers, a series of, what would we call those? Utensils and drinking cups and things like that. Buttons, watch parts, a whole bunch of watch parts over here. Looks like some pipes back here. Razors, thimbles, more pipe parts. Some medicines. Coins. It's kind of a neat. And then of course here it talks about the Brits and the French, all prisoners of war. Now let's go outside.
I forgot to mention that outside of the museum is a mock-up of the Barracks facility. As you can see here in the photograph, it's pretty well detailed on the outside. So let's take a quick look inside and see what's going on.
And we will see what you are doing in here. What are we doing? I will need to see what we are doing here. Is everybody okay?
It seems as if though one of the German guards has caught 3 of the British prisoners up to no good. Dan, Nick, and Ben. Let's see what they're up to.
This guy. So we're going to what? I mean, all of your Brits, yeah? You have some British POWs here. Every wave. You see they're all in the proper garb with their blue sweatshirts and their khaki pants.
It looks like our British prisoners are using the wooden horse. The wooden horse was something to use for physical training by the prisoners in Stalag Luft III. Additionally, it was used to hide a tunnel. You can see here in the picture that the prisoners would do their physical training while another prisoner was down below digging the tunnel.
Then you come, run this way, put your hands here, swing your hips around. It does separate. Well. That's a little up. Oh. 3, 2, 1, go. There you go. That was stunning.
It was probably need to set it back up.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
While the Brits continued their physical training, I went around the rest of the building and had a look to see what else was in there.
There you go.
Oh, we got to put it back here.
All right, so anyway, the Brits there, they're over there doing the wooden horse. We'll explain what the wooden horse is in a little bit. And yeah, so they're doing the jump over the wooden horse. We're here in this little room. This is how they push the air through the tunnels. There's a bellows. I don't know if they can move that or not. I don't know what all that says. Probably says don't touch, Blake. That's how it worked. And of course, here's the train cars. They built on rails. Something similar to this to haul the dirt, the sand. Get some sand. U.S. Army toothbrush handle. Oh, this is the plate. So they had these hooks. This was along the side. And Tunnel Dick, there's a whole documentary about this.
Along with the photos of the prisoners who tried to escape from Stalag Luft III in 1945, the museum had pictures of the movie The Great Escape memorializing that escape by those prisoners. The movie was made in 1963 and starred Charles Bronson, James Garner, and Steve McQueen, who did his own stunts on a motorcycle.
Los, aufstehen!
They've got the tunnel here. Don't know if you can climb down in it or not, but we'll see. If we can, then we'll probably will. Have to use the old iPhone though. Oh my. Look at here. Looks like you totally can't. So they've got a replica here of the tunnel. We're going to go down in this tunnel, and hopefully as we go in the tunnel we won't find any prisoners escaping. Let's see. Slow, take it easy. Oh, there they are. There's somebody there now. Okay. Tap 3 times, right? Shh, come on. Get down here. You gotta tap 3 times. There you go. I'm gonna have to get one of those, I think. For the front. Between the GoPro and stuff. Oh, no. Come on. Right. Yeah! Freedom! Here we are, coming in at the end. All the way, almost there, almost to freedom. We got Nick the Brit pull us out. There we go. All right. Okay, so we're sitting still. We're still outside of Tunnel Harry, and I went to the visitor center, and I'm kind of into trinkets and trash and things like that. Like I said, I've got the bomber shirt here. If you're interested, just look in the link below. I'll show you how to get that. But they had this little patch here that I bought at the visitor center. So we're gonna put it with the patch board. Let's see, right, we'll put it right there. That's a good spot. It's way back there, but I think that's a great place for it to be. So let's continue our journey, shall we? We're here at Tunnel Harry. 76 people came through this thing. Only 3 of them survived, and the rest of them were killed by old Hitler. He said himself, you know, these folks need to go. So behind me you see the Tunnel Harry there, down where the Brits are. That's the whole length of the tunnel. Walking the distance of the tunnel here into the area that used to be the actual camp. And again, where we were earlier, that's all replicas, and this is the actual camp. You can see some of the actual structures here. Well, what's left of the structures, at least. The different pilings. Note that's not one of the tunnels. It's just part of the building, but the different pilings for all the buildings. And they put them up on the pilings because they had previous tunnel escapes in the past. So they put them up on these pilings, and then that way the Germans could see under it and see if somebody was tunneling under. And you see also there's this concrete pad here. And so what they ended up doing was they did it on something like this. This hole here, it was off to the side through the stove. So as we walk through here, you'll see the size of the building. It's fairly large, a bit bigger than what we had earlier in the one we were in, the mock-up. Walk down this trail and go look at some of the other buildings, some of the other areas. So, real quick, this is interesting, right? We were coming upon a cistern of sorts, and this was used to collect rainwater. And the purpose of the cistern that I found out there was another place with another cistern in a place nearby, and I was talking with the firemen there, and they were telling me that the purpose of this cistern was for fire department water. So if there was a fire, this is their hydrant system. This is where the water came from for a fire. Little World War II firefighting history. They had cisterns that they built. And this isn't the only one that I know of. I know of 1, 2, 3, 4 that I've seen. This is number 4. So this is actually left over from the Germans. And that's kind of a German thing, at least a Nazi thing back then, was to have this for fire water protection so you didn't burn the whole place down. Now granted, you have to remember, whoops, there were no trees here. It was all buildings. This was the north side of the camp. The north side of the camp, going that way. South is behind me here. East, west. Never eat sour watermelons, right? So, you know, this was the north side of the camp, primarily here. And this is where all the officers stayed. All the pilots. The guys that flew bombers. If you like this shirt, I'll tell you all about it in a little bit.
That's right. Let's take a second and talk about where you can get that shirt. You can get it at islandvibesforlife.com. Go to Hawaiian shirts, military inspired collection, and then once that opens up, you'll see our military inspired collection shirts. We've got things like the Air Mobility Command tribute shirt, the B-25 Mitchell tribute shirt, the B-29 tribute shirt, a tribute to Tuskegee Airmen, and of course our USAF bombers, and the red one that I'm wearing today. As you can see, here it is, 100% cotton. Island Vibes for Life. Discover your signature style.
So we're going to continue to walk through, see what else. You got a bunch of different ruins and whatnot. You see the clay pipe there, another one. I don't quite remember how many buildings there were, but I'll look that information up and I'll definitely make sure that I get it to you, because you know, it's good stuff to have, right? There's something over here. Let's take a look. We'll walk through here. Looks like it's covered, so that's, you know, anything that's got a underground area is always interesting, right? So some sort of, I don't know that it had anything to do with Tom, Dick, or Harry, but some sort of tunnel complex or something, some building. I can always speculate, but I don't like speculation too much, to be honest. All right, so I'm gonna walk, and when I see something else, I'll bring you back in. You know, looking at these areas where these old buildings were with the moss and the pine trees, you kind of listening to the birds and that, it reminds me of when I was a kid in Scouts, and we'd be at Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Park, and there was a old CCC camp. CCC, of course, is Civilian Conservation Corps. And so it kind of reminds me of that, and that you'd find these old buildings like this one here just out in the woods, a cherry tree growing through it or something like that. Same thing up towards Chickamauga, you'd find things like that, you know, different places that we would go in Scouts and see stuff like this. And you know, realistically, it's about the same era time frame, because the CCC, of course, was in the 1930s with Franklin Delano Roosevelt, FDR, and the New Deal and all of that. So it's about the same era, and yeah, about the same type of growth over it. It's really kind of interesting to me. This is really interesting. If you look here, you see this square of bricks with the hole through the center. So it looks like it was some sort of chimney, and this is where it was cemented to and then fell that way. At least that's my best guess, right? Here we've got, it looks like another large building here, and you can see that the stanchions or the pylons, whatever you want to call them, they're much higher off the ground. Now, whether or not this is ground level back then or not, who knows? Well, somebody knows, but I sure as heck don't, right? You know, This would be a great little area for my other YouTube channel called Watch and Unwind, where I do little AMSR. Don't ask me what that stands for, but relaxation type stuff. You just have nature sounds. You know, you basically set the camera down and watch for 30 minutes, an hour, just kind of record what's going on. Watch and Unwind, that's the name of that channel. If you ever want to have a look, I'll leave a link down below. This building here that I'm about to walk to, this is the theater. And you can, once we get to it, you'll see, we'll go up the entrance of the theater, and then we'll actually walk down inside where the sloped seats would be, so you could actually see what's going on, you know, in the movie or whatever. So we just walked up the stairs. You can see the stairs there. We're going in the entrance of the theater. Probably walking through some series of doors, walking around the outside, go through a series of doors, I imagine right here, just judging by the layout. And then we're sloping down. And I'll show you this. You look behind me there. You can see how the ground is rising up above me. And here was the stage, this whole area here. So we'll do a quick panorama. And then that went up for the seating. I was told by the guide at the visitor center here that there were over 50,000 Soviet troops that were killed here in this Żagań complex, because it's a series of camps. This is just Stalag Luft III. Stalag prison camp. Luft, of course, is aviation or air flying. I'm not German, so I don't know. But anyway, I'm sure somebody could put that in the comments. Hey, what does Stalag Luft translate to? I'll probably put it on the screen. But anyhow, he's saying, yeah, you know, 50,000 Soviet troops, because the Soviet Union, Stalin, didn't sign the Geneva Convention. So since he didn't sign the Geneva Convention, well, Hitler did away with them. The Soviets, they were just murdered en masse by the Nazis, because there wasn't the Geneva Convention. And as we all know now, I mean, for him, it didn't really matter anyway, and that's why we had the whole Nuremberg trials and all that stuff, and all these people convicted of war crimes way after World War II ended. This is one of 3 tunnels behind me. This is Tunnel Harry again. Like I said, they had 3 tunnels here. Tom, Dick, and Harry were the names of the 3 tunnels. And this is where the Great Escape happened, this tunnel, Tunnel Harry. You had 76 people that made it through this tunnel, and only 3 survived. The other tunnels, one was used for storage, the other one was used as a ruse just in case, and they were expecting to get 200 people out of this tunnel. Of course, that didn't happen. There were delays, there was bombing, and then of course they showed up, or excuse me, they came up out of the ground just shy of the wood line there where that rock is. So it made it difficult. Number 77, he was found, and that's how they determined this was what was going on. Of course, we all know the movie The Great Escape with Steve McQueen. That was named after, or made after, this escape here. You can imagine crawling all that way underground, only to be that short. There's the wood line right there. But you ended up just short of the wood line. And they see you. If you see, you eject out of your airplane. Let's redo this again. Hi, I'm upside down. You're an Allied aviator in World War II. You're flying a B-17 or a Lancaster or something like that, and you're flying over Western Germany on a bombing route. Western Germany, which is now Eastern Poland. No. Imagine for a moment that you are an Allied aviator. And there we go, we're going in. Ooh. I'm about to fall down. You're on a bombing mission over Eastern Germany, which is now today Western Poland. You're flying through a flat cloud along, oh God almighty. Well, that's going to be a lot to cut. All right.